Now here it says in verse 31, and after he had buried him, he said to his sons, when I die, bury me in the grave in which the man of God is buried, lay my bones beside his bones. And here we see the second reason why this old prophet wanted the man of God with him. He led to this man's physical death, and after that he told his sons, bury me. And again, notice that the sons are just there to do his bidding. That's all they're there for. We don't know their names. We don't know how many there were. They were just his servants. And he gives them an order telling them that when he would kick the bucket, he had to be buried next to the prophet, the man of God, whom he had, in a sense, murdered. And that shows that he wanted to have his bones protected from the judgment that the man of God had prophesied, because the man of God has said that human bones would be burned at the altar, if you remember at the beginning of the chapter. So this was all a selfish scheme. In a sense, and as we've said, the bones represent the death of your spiritual calling. So what he was trying to do is to hold on to his spiritual calling as much as he could, to hold on to it, and he didn't want his bones to be profaned. He knew that if he was buried next to this man of God, that there was a nice chance, that's the way he calculated it, that his bones would not be exhumed and desecrated, because they would be right next to the man who had prophesied that event. So he was looking out for number one, and he was willing to kill another person, to have another person's spiritual calling snatched away from them, just so as to protect themselves. And that's what a lot of the ministers in the church do, the soul ministers, who are the overwhelming majority. They are willing to snatch away the spiritual calling of others because they believe that by holding on to these people and having these people around them and having a great number of these people, they can prove to God that they really are spiritual servants of Him. They believe that they can show up in God's presence and read out a list of all the people who attend their congregation, who attended their congregation whilst they were alive, and that God will say, "Oh yes, yes, yes. All these people that were in your church, you definitely were a servant of mine." That's their attitude, and they're willing to hold on to people and not allow them to grow spiritually, so as to have them under their control and to somehow use them as pieces, as chips as spiritual chips before God to be approved by Him. And that's what we can see there. It's a very the soul ministry. The ministry that is dominated by the soul is a very selfish, black hole type ministry. It tries to drag everything unto itself, even if it means the death of everything that it draws unto it. That's why the king was judged when he tried. He could not pull his hand towards him, because this whole chapter was an indictment against the soul ministers who were constantly dragging people unto themselves. And in verse 32 it says, "For the saying that he called out by the word of the Lord against the altar in Bethel, and against all the houses of the high places that are in the cities of Samaria, shall surely come to pass." So here we have the confirmation that he wanted to be buried with him, because he didn't want his bones to be burned at the altar along with the bones of all the others. And it's interesting to me that he doesn't say to his sons, "Well, if this might happen after you die, I recommend that you get buried here alongside of this man as well." He doesn't care about the future of his sons. That's what soul ministers tend to do. They don't care about the future of the people that serve them. They are only interested in their own personal futures. Now here it says in verse 33, "After this thing Jeroboam did not turn from his evil way, but made priests for the high places again from among all the people, any who would, he ordained to be priests of the high places, and this thing became sin to the house of Jeroboam, so as to cut it off and to destroy it from the face of the earth. So here we see what we were talking about earlier, that Jeroboam never repented of his attitude. He was kind of scared when his hand was frozen at the word of the man of God. But once the man of God prayed for him and he could move his hand again, he kind of forgot what it felt like not to be able to move his hand, and he felt that he could do whatever he wanted. And he felt even more vindicated when he learned that the man of God that had judged him and embarrassed him had been killed somewhere. So Jeroboam never repented, and this is one of the reasons why I believe personally that the man of God would probably have done better not to pray for the king when the king's hand froze, and he might have been able to say to him, "I'm not going to pray for you until you repent." But he didn't do that because he was charmed by the greatness, the oak greatness of King Jeroboam. He liked it. He liked the covering of oaks, and that's the reason why he prayed for Jeroboam. He was attracted to that type of human greatness. And so in conclusion, we can see from this chapter, 1 Kings chapter 13, that those who operate in the Spirit are people who release judgments, who try not to have unnecessary communion with those who abide in the natural, in the soulish realm. And we also have seen how soul-dominated atmospheres present a false image, a mirage that can only be truly understood if you look at it from the spiritual perspective. As for example, when you see the old prophet mourning the man of God's death, when he was the one who caused the death, and you would say, well, he really loved the man. If he had loved the man, he would not have caused his death. He would not have lied to him. We also saw how the soul atmosphere promotes a respect for intermediaries. The old prophet supposedly got the word from an angel, and the angel got the word from God, and this old prophet relayed the word over to the man of God. We have this long chain of intermediaries. In the soul atmosphere, you judge by appearance. The old prophet tried to convince the man of God, I am a prophet just as you, and look at me, I'm old, so I have more years in the ministry, so my word has a little more weight than yours. Those are the things that begin to happen when the soul is dominating the atmosphere. And the soul, people who are soulish, have a tendency to seek the covering of oaks that are destructive to them. This man of God who started well allowed himself to be taken in by the covering of this man, this old prophet, and as a result he died. And that is the challenge to believers from the Lord. Are you willing to die for the oak that is covering you? And when the Lord is saying dying, He's referring to the death of your spiritual calling. Is disobedience to God justified by your love for the covering of an oak?